Welcome. My name is Gena Timberman, and you are listening to Timber People, a podcast about people who, like timber, are strong, build and create, who gather us together like fuel that feeds fire. People who support structures of our community that uplift and protect. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited today and honored to have Maggie Boyett representing the 5 Moons Dance Festival. Thank you so much for being on the show, Maggie.
Thank you, Gena.
We have a lot to talk about. I know you have invested so much professionally as well as the Shawnee Tribe and talking about your partnerships to really produce such an important production and experience this upcoming weekend. And I know I want to get into in the interview also your personal legacy in this very important event as well. Welcome.
Thanks. What do we want to talk about? Let's dive in.
I know. It's like, okay.
You can tell it's the week of the show.
So I want to say the Weizenhofer Family College of Fine Arts at the University of Oklahoma will be hosting the 5 Moons Dance Festival August 24th through 25th of this year, this coming weekend, as part of its centennial celebration. And I know that there is a strong legacy. We talk about the 5 moons. Will you talk a little bit about that symbolism? Because many of the listeners may not really understand what that means.
Yeah. So the 5 Moons moniker comes from the 1957 and 1967 Oklahoma Indian Ballerina Festivals. Moscelyne Larkin of the Peoria Nation and Eastern Shawnee Tribe. She's also one of the 5 Moons Ballerinas. She was kind of the main driver of those festivals, and they coincided with the 50th and 60th anniversaries of Oklahoma statehood. And so as part of the 67 festival, the program included a ballet premiere called The 4 Moons, and 4 of the 5 Moons Ballerinas performed that, and the music was composed by Lewis Ballard Sr., who was Cherokee and Quapaw. And so it was, an immediate hit. And those 5 Moons Ballerinas are also beloved, that name kind of just grew a little bit. And we only had 4 of the 5 that year because Maria Tallchief had retired and didn't perform.
For the listeners, the 5 Moons really is about honoring the 5 prima ballerinas that were connected to Oklahoma and still are through their legacy, family, and the programs that still exist today to honor their name and that heritage of dance in Oklahoma, nationally and internationally. And we have so many tribes represented. Let's talk a little bit about the tribal representation and the support and the heart and spirit of the festival itself.
Sure. So the festival began in 2021 with the School of Dance partnering with the Osage Nation. Maria and Marjorie Tallchief were 2 sisters. They were born a year apart, and they were born in Fairfax, I believe, and went on to, their illustrious careers. Moscelyne Larkin was the next of the 5 Moons Ballerinas that was honored. She's from the Eastern Shawnee Tribe and was a citizen of the Peoria Nation. And she grew up in Ottawa County before she went off and had her international career. This is the 3rd iteration of the festival, and we'll be honoring Yvonne Chouteau, who is of the Shawnee Tribe. And she's also the OU School of Dance co-founder with her husband. And the last but not least is Rosella Hightower from your tribe, Choctaw Nation. And it's my understanding that the next iteration of the festival is going to focus on her.
It's incredible. I'm so excited. And it's connected to me from being a part of the Native world. And I'm just really being in admiration of this history and legacy. And my 4-year-old niece, Andy, she is participating in the School of Dance now too. And that is so special and connected. And I want to say, as in terms of personal connections, you were with the OU School of Dance in the modern dance, and that has to be really special to be connected in this capacity that you're involved in now for the festival. My niece is now in the Choteau School of Dance, but you being a part of that's really awesome.
Yeah. And, that I'm working for my tribal nation at the same time too. I don't have words for it. Like it's weird. And I don't think about it too often because one, there's just so much work to do with putting together a festival like this. But yeah, there's just this like undercurrent constantly churning of like creators like hand is in this, and like me and like the folks I'm working with at the OU School of Dance, Director Michael Bearden and Leslie Krause, the festival coordinator. There's so many other folks that are involved in this, obviously, but there's so much to think about. And we've kind of turned this around in less than 12 months. And we've expanded festival programming, but it's also been so easy in so many ways. Right. And I think it is because like all of the right people are involved. You know what I mean?
You have to connect your spheres of influence. And I love that you have expanded your spheres of influence to really include programming like the dance performance, but including an art market, the Shawnee Stomp Dance, appropriately so, honoring your cultural roots, and then also really engaging people in social media the way you have. It's really great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been, I've been telling folks it's been a labor of love, emphasis on both parts, the labor and the love.
Right? Doesn't it work that way?
Yes.
It's all about the balance. Uh-huh. It's all about the balance. Well, there's so much to talk about when you talk about the 5 moons. You talk about the Oklahoma Prima Ballerinas, international icons in dance, and also thinking about honoring Yvonne Chouteau.
Yeah. Like I said, Yvonne was the co-founder of the School of Dance at OU with her husband, Miguel Tarakoff. They also, in that same decade, founded the Oklahoma City Civic Ballet, and that became the Oklahoma City Ballet that we know today and the Yvonne Chouteau School of Dance that your niece attends. But way before that, before she entered adulthood and, had a family and became a mama and, a cultural icon, she was inducted to the Oklahoma Hall of Fame at 18 years old or something. Still the youngest ever inductee to this day. Yeah. And she left home. They left Oklahoma when she was 14, when she got a scholarship to the school. I think it was the School of American Ballet. You'll have to fact check me on that part. But she and her family left Oklahoma when she was 14 years old so that she could pursue a dance scholarship that she received from one of the foremost ballet instructors of that day, Alexandra Danilova. And so, yeah, she was on the road at 14 years old, traveling internationally. And so Danilova kind of became her mom away from her family, and she was her family's only child. And I don't like admitting it, but I'm also an only child. I think when I tell people that, they probably like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That checks out. I see why she is the way she is. But there's something about families with only children, Native families specifically, I think, they just care. We care about all of our kiddos and we want our kids to be kids. But especially when, like an only, there's just something about a grandpa's connection to his only granddaughter.
Oh, right.
And it was the same with Yvonne. And so she went off, to ballet school. Her family came with her, though. And she's always had that, like, cradle of support, even though she was traveling internationally and stuff like that. And so we Oklahomans are lucky that she eventually wanted to come back home. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that phrase you said of cradle of support. Mm-hmm. That's a really important phrase, I think. And I love how her story really shares that culture, community, family way of nurturing that budding talent, that rising star, and that returning home feeling and that component. I love the story.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I've kind of got goosebumps. Like she and the other Five Moons ballerinas, they all lived such huge lives.
I mean, internationally traveling
Yeah,
then, I mean, this wasn't like, this is pre-internet, like way pre, like cell phones,
jets. Yeah,
you're right.
like
And so like, what does that mean for, people from small towns in Oklahoma really going out and exploring the world and representing their home
yeah.
on an international stage?
Yeah. So I'm really glad that you brought that up because I think that question gets to the heart of what this festival is aiming to do. Yvonne passed away in 2016. And we haven't had 5 more Indian ballerinas, young girls, go international like they have. We have immense talent in Indian country, but why haven't we seen another, ballerina at the same level that they were at? And I think it's just because there was this disconnect between the small communities when they came back, and because they had to go off and have their career internationally, and so when they returned to Oklahoma, they had to build up from scratch, basically, and they had to bring the talent to Oklahoma. And fast forward to 2024, in a lot of ways, we're still kind of having to do that. Thankfully, we have the legacy that Yvonne and Miss Larkin left for us in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And those are the top 3 dance organizations in the state to this day. Absolutely. But yeah, there's been a little lag as far as those institutions engaging the communities that those women came from. And so I'm really, really glad that OU School of Dance started this festival to kind of bridge that gap. And, I don't want to speak on behalf of Director Bearden. He and I have become really close friends through this process, though. And this was his brainchild when he became director a few years ago. And he just kind of started the ball rolling. And it's the kind of thing where like, you just when you what's the like some proverb about like taking a walk up a staircase, right, and you like you can't see the end of the staircase, but he took those first few steps, and we're in year 3 of the festival, and it just keeps getting bigger and better. And
It's incredible.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful.
Me too. We still haven't seen like the full scope of what it's going to turn into yet, and part of me is exhausted thinking about how much more labor that's going to be, but it's the good kind. It's the kind of labor when you get home from camp and you're so exhausted and you can't lift an arm, but you just had the best week kind of thing. So, yeah.
I had the gift and honor of being with Oklahoma's Prima Ballerinas with Betty Price and Mary Jo Watson many years ago in my career. And I do remember it was impressionable upon me of the poise and grace and their presence, really. And, I didn't grow up with a dance background. My college friends would probably joke and say otherwise in a non-professional way. No, I'm kidding. But in all seriousness, growing up as a Native young lady, and you are a lot younger than I am. How did you think about, or I'm curious as to the inspiration that Oklahoma's Native Prima Ballerinas had upon you as a real modern dancer?
Yeah. I was talking to my parents about this. So Miss Larkin was my ballet instructor from the time that I was in preschool.
It's incredible.
Her ballet studio had an outreach program into daycares that were, in Tulsa. And my daycare that I went to happened to be one of the ones that they were going into at that time. And when my parents bought the home that they live in now, that home is like 7 blocks away from the Jasinski Academy studios where they used to be. And so I was asking the other day, did y'all know that was the plan? Because they have a story about like when I was, a brand new baby, they were like, okay, she's got dancer legs. She's going to be a good dancer kind of thing. And And so they knew they wanted me to try dancing as a young kiddo, but they didn't have, the knowledge of like, get her in Moscelyne Larkin's studio. That wasn't the plan. It was 7 blocks away. So that's the one we went to. And so, as a small child, I didn't really comprehend the enormity of their careers and all the places they'd been. But Miss Larkin specifically, was just such an enchanting teacher,
Right.
And like, unlike any other, well, I think all ballet instructors have that kind of aura,
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was exposed to other ballet instructors, Miss Larkin always stood out among them,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't necessarily make the connection that it was because she's a Shawnee woman like me until much later, and all of those things that like I was aware of as a kid in her classroom, like finally made sense as I entered college, because then I went to OU, which Yvonne Chouteau founded with Miguel. And, I'm walking into the School of Dance every day and seeing a mural of these 5 ballerinas, seeing a mural of Yvonne Chouteau, and thinking about her as a Shawnee woman too, even though I didn't know her story nearly as in depth as I knew Miss Larkin's. I wish I knew then what I know now about Yvonne. I think my OU experience would have been a lot different, and not better or worse necessarily, but it would have been more meaningful maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's really special. And back to the festival, like I'm glad this exists now so that we can put those dots together for other young dancers that don't necessarily know the history.
I understand that. I wish I would have been exposed to that history and legacy earlier on. I would have appreciated my dance courses as a young person more and taken that more seriously. It was not until I was in my professional position that I really learned that history and legacy in my early 20s, the way I did, about the dancers and the ballerinas and Oklahoma's connection to that beautiful, beautiful history. And so I love to hear this. I love to hear how your family supported. So I really want to support my niece and others in this pursuit. And I was so happy to learn that the First Americans Museum, as well as the Shawnee Tribe, really partnering with the University of Oklahoma and others to really make this successful, as well as the Jacobson House. I'm honored to serve on that board of directors as well. And I can't wait to see like how it evolves and grows over the years.
Me too. And, I've talked about how much work it is, but it's also the kind of thing where getting all of these institutions involved, even though it might be a lot of work on the production side of things, it only makes the festival better because we're exposing these ladies' legacies to that many different audiences.
Right.
So,
and these are the times that build our cultural and connected confidence, if you will.
Yes.
It's like you commit to something, you're not quite sure how it's going to happen, but if you bring your heart and your mind and your efforts together and you connect and you really commit, then it will be successful. And when you see something you do that turns out successfully, then you are inspired and encouraged to do more. And so it's a building component of what I call cultural confidence.
That's took the words out of my mouth. I was going to talk about confidence. Yeah, it's a confidence building thing.
And we all need that.
Yes.
No matter how long, no matter how contemporary, traditional, new, like just doing new things and succeeding at them, no matter what it is, native or non-native, is confidence building. And it's a lesson every day for me. So let's talk about what the actual like series of events are for the weekend.
Sure. All right, let's see how good my memory is. So the festival is Friday and Saturday, August 24th and 25th. We're going to start on the 24th with the Lenawiki Hoki-Chatonawa Art Market. Lenawiki Hoki-Chatonawa means Indian people made it,
Oh, I love
So,
that.
yeah, we will be at the Jacobson house from noon to 6 with 6 Native artists. We have representation from all of the 5 Moons tribal nations, which I'm really, really excited about. And that will be indoors. And the vendors, like I said, will be set up until 6 p.m. In the backyard of the Jacobson house, we'll have some pop-up tents set up. There's 2 panel discussions planned for that afternoon in the backyard. One at 3 o'clock, which will be about Lewis Ballard and the 4 Moons. And the 4:30 panel discussion will be myself facilitating a discussion with Yvonne's daughters, Liz and Christy. It's been a joy getting to know them through this process. We're going to talk about their mom through their personal lens and just kind of look at all of the different hats that she had to wear in her lifetime and balancing, being a mom and a community leader and an icon. Later that evening on the 24th, we're going to move up the highway to Oklahoma City and we'll be out in the courtyard at the First Americans Museum. There's a closing panel discussion with Shoshana Wasserman, the deputy director of the museum, and the current chiefs of the tribal nations represented by the 5 Moons. We'll have the Shawnee Chief, Ben Barnes, Peoria Nation's Chief Craig Harper, Osage Nation Chief Jeffrey Standing Bear, and Glenna Wallace, the chief of the Eastern Shawnee Tribe. And that evening, we're going to conclude everything with a memorial stomp dance for Troy Littleax Sr. and James Squirrel, and we'll be out there until 11 p.m. It's not an exhibition stomp dance. I want to be really clear about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a community event where leaders and shell shakers come out. Members of the public, if you've never been to a stomp dance, come out and just enjoy. We'll have food trucks set up. Got to eat. It's an Indian event. We're going to have food. So, we'll be there all day.
Your people are always, in my experience, such connecting, positive community people, knowledgeable people. And this really feels like it's in line with the spirit of who your people are to represent this event. And I'm really grateful for that. And I know that on Sunday, August 25th, the 5 Moons Dance Festival will feature a performance at 2 p.m. at the Reynolds Performing Arts Center on the OU campus in Norman. The American Ballet Theater, Oklahoma City Ballet, Tulsa Ballet, and OU School of Dance students are included in the performance. This is you have a featured artist this year, I understand.
Yes, I would love to talk about Elisa. Elisa Harkins is Cherokee and Muskogee, and she's this year's featured artist and composer, and she's going to perform an excerpt from her celebrated work called Radio 3. It's an evening length work, and we've, pulled out 2 songs of it. I'm actually going to be a backup dancer for Elisa.
Awesome.
I didn't tell you that part. Yeah. She's a dear friend of mine. She's also a former student of Miss Larkin's. And so, it was obvious that she needed to come onto the programming.
It's awesome. Well, I love the collaborations and the community that is built and created for special experiences like this. And Maggie, it has been such an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yakoki, thank you for joining us. Timber People is brought to you by the Possibilities Podcast platform.